Steven, I bowled a 604 series last night.
I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, 604. Should have been better.
Oh, 604, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have a great second game, unfortunately. First game was 222. Second game was 170. The problem was I left 3 opens on single pins. I missed a 7-pin, I missed a 5-pin, and a 3-pin. I should have never missed a 5. I should have never missed a 3. 7-pin, for whatever reason, I have trouble with as a lefty, and I really shouldn't have trouble with it. But that screwed me out of at least another 30 to 40 pins. But then the last game, I had A open. I wasn't doing too well too early, but spares, couple strikes, spare strike, and then I struck 5 out at the end of that game. I did a bunch of hip thrusting, and I blew the fuck out of the pins. I fucking fucked them up.
Cool.
Yeah, I threw a lot of strikes.
I don't understand anything you just said, but cool.
So what 604 means is that I averaged...
Here we go.
I averaged over 200 for 3 games, which is very good.
Cool.
It is very cool, Steven.
Did you show off your new jeans that you showed me yesterday?
I did show off my new jeans. Does everybody want to see them? Look.
Ooh.
Look at this ass.
Ooh.
Look at me. Doesn't my ass just look better in the new jeans?
That winter full moon that was last night.
Doesn't my ass look better in these jeans?
Sure.
It's part of the reason I went and got the new jeans is because you said my ass doesn't look as good in the old ones.
I was more just fucking with you, but yeah.
It's true, though. It's true. I wear these things called Sebastian McCall's. They're designer jeans that have Lycra and all this other genie shit. And I constantly go through them because I wear them every single day. But now, this pair of jeans, guess what number's in it?
Number 1.
No, 3. I've already worn the other 2, day 1, day 2, now day 3.
I'm surprised you're not wearing number 1 all day, every day.
No, I'm going to rotate because they think that they get like dry rot because they never dry out, and then it causes them to tear easier. We'll see if that's even true. I don't.
Do you know what pants I have on today, Steven? Number 1, because I am number 1.
3. You're number 3. You're number 3.
All my jeans are number 2.
That's not even funny, Steve. It's not even funny. So the other day I played pickleball on Sunday because it was very nice out. I went to Jersey for it, to like Marlton. And after, my friends were like, do you want to get lunch at Shake Shack? And I've never been to Shake Shack, but I'm giving things a try. I went to Shake Shack. I got a double plain burger. That shit was good.
A plain burger? Just like
I always
meat,
get a plain burger. Yeah, two patties. Two patties of meat
like
and
no
fries.
Fun.
Well, I don't want... Look, their lettuce is bib lettuce, and bib lettuce
condiments,
blows.
Nothing?
I didn't get their sauce, and I don't want cheese.
Oh, okay.
Cheese.
Cheese is the best part of a burger, man.
I don't like cheese on burgers, and I don't like cheese unless it's like
a
mozzarella.
Straight up old school hamburger.
Yeah, straight up hamburger, French fries, and a bunch of water, and it was very tasty.
A bunch of water to suck down that dry burger.
It wasn't a dry burger. I had ketchup for that.
You put ketchup on, of all things?
Why would I not put ketchup on a burger and French fries?
But you won't put anything else on?
I don't put it on. I cut it up with a fork and a knife, and then I eat it.
So
I don't eat the roll.
Like a 7-year-old just cutting up your burger?
First off, like a 4 or 5-year-old. And let me give you some insight.
Not 7, 4 or 5.
Well, yeah, because that's what I did as a kid. And I know why. I can envision the moment where I decided that I will not eat rolls with my meat.
Why?
And I remember being a little kid and looking at taking a bite, and the roll got so mushy because they didn't toast the rolls.
Oh, you
so
gotta
what
toast
happened
it,
is the juices from the burger and then the ketchup on it made it so mushy and slimy that I didn't like that taste.
So
and
you were eating
like
a soggy potato roll from like...
That's exactly correct. Yeah. 1984.
Oh, man, yeah.
That's exactly what it was back then. A soggy potato roll. So that told me no.
What about a new age gourmet burger where the bun's toasted, it looks perfect? Would you still not eat it?
I still wouldn't eat it as a sandwich.
Okay.
I just don't do sandwiches like that.
To each their own, yep.
Just like I don't do a steak sandwich like that because of the mushiness, and that was part of it too. But check this out. My grandfather... Back in the 80s, like we're down in Florida, and I order a burger, and my dad's not there, so it's just my grandfather, my brother, and I. And he's like, "You don't eat the roll?" I'm like, "No, I don't eat the roll." And then
4-year-old Jack, no,
yeah. No, 5, however old I was. And he's like, well, you're going to have to pick it up like a normal person and eat it.
Yeah, you freaking weirdo.
Yeah. Dude, pick it up like a normal person. This is what you get from fucking baby boomer parents from the World War II. Pick it up like a normal person.
And that's stuck with you to literally this day. Wow.
Yes, it's stuck with me forever because it's bullshit.
Every time you eat a burger, you're like, am I a weirdo?
No, I know I'm fine. I'm
No,
fine.
I know. Yeah.
I'm fine, Steven. But also,
fine, I'm
they always
fine.
gave me shit. My grandmother, my dad's mother, and my dad's dad. They always gave me shit about you don't eat anything. I'm like, I'm fucking 6. What do you mean I don't eat
Meanwhile,
anything?
you're 41 doing the same exact thing.
Not true, Steven. I eat sushi all the time. Most
saying
people who
with your-
don't
with
like
your
food
burgers,
don't
I'm
eat
saying.
sushi. No, yeah, my burger, I still cut up my burger. I have my French fries. I eat it that way. But there's no such thing. So guess what I've started to do? I have some friends, they eat things that you might be like, well, that's interesting. Realize I didn't say weird. Realize I didn't say weird. I said interesting. I said interesting because if that's what they like, then that's fine. If my dad orders a steak, like a New York strip or a filet, and he asks for ketchup, that's his choice. That's what he chooses to do.
And hey, as friends, I still think it's fine to poke fun. You know, if your friend
Yes.
eats a little different, it's just
Right.
friendly, banter.
But I started to acknowledge the fact that I do things a certain way, and I
Yes,
like
you
things.
do.
They do things a certain way. That's okay. Just I'm not going to question them on it. Or I may say, like, is there a reason in the past? Fuck you, Steven.
You question
Don't look at me
everyone
like that.
and
Don't look at me
everything. What
like
do you
that.
mean you won't question?
This is why we need video podcasts, so people could have seen your face when you looked at me like that.
I gave him the whole, what are you talking about look.
Willis.
What you talking about, Willis?
I do question everything, but when it comes to the food stance, I'm just like, oh, okay, that's interesting, not weird. What? Shut up, Steven. So anyway, my grandparents always gave me shit. You go to the Chinese restaurant and they're like, "Hello, you don't eat anything," and I'm like, "No, that was my grandfather." But he's like, "You don't eat anything," and I'm like, "No." I am 6 again. And so guess what? I got retribution many, many, many moons ago before he died. She died at like 70 or 74. I don't even know how old she was, but here, I'll tell you the story of what she did.
This
to
is
kill
your
herself.
dad's parents?
My dad's mom.
Okay.
She goes and gets a stress test. They say, we need to immediately check you into the hospital because you didn't pass the stress test.
Oh.
Because she must have had clogged arteries or blockage. She said, no, I'm going home.
Oh.
Then she had a heart attack.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, if the doctor says during a stress test that you need to go we need to check you into the hospital immediately, and you say no, there's a problem. Anyway, my grandfather,
It's her blood pressure was probably like 160 over 80, something insane where they're like, yeah, you're probably going to have a heart attack like any second.
basically. And so as I sit here, I'm like, oh, what's that pain in my chest?
Oh, jeez.
No, would you imagine watching that on the Zoom, Steven? Jared's AFibbing or whatever, and you're like, what do I do? You call Dan, and you're like, Dan, go over there. And he's like, I forgot my key. I don't know what to do.
It is scary though when someone is in a state like that and you're like, call 911. I don't know what else to do.
Now you punch him in the chest and then the face and kick him in the nuts, and that tries to get the system running
the
again.
The nuts usually do it, yeah.
So before I wrap up this story about my grandfather, we would go out to eat, just he and I, when I would go down to Florida and take him out to eat. I'm like, Pop, would you like to go get sushi tonight?
This is America.
I don't eat that. I'm like, hey, you want to go try this? Ugh, I can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, remember all those years you told me I needed to eat like a normal person or that I don't eat any food? Yeah. You know what pisses me off while we're going down this path? When people make excuses for old people and say, well, they're just old. They've been, they're just old. They're not going to change. Well, it's one thing to say that you're old and you're not going to change, except for the fact that at one time you weren't old and you still chose not to change. So when you're 50 and you do the same thing now that when you're 80, that's because no one ever called you on it, or you never took enough initiative to actually make a goddamn change, and you just make damn excuses.
What about when you're 42 and you eat the same way that you ate when you were 4 or 5?
That is not even true, Steven. When I go out to eat, I order the meal the way it is now. I don't do substitutions. I get it the way that they do it, and I eat it as long as it doesn't have fucking pork on it.
The point of this whole conversation.
Dude, I don't want to eat a burger that way, Steven. I don't like the way that the roll gets all mushy with the fucking... Here, check this out, Steven. I was out to eat at a place called Abe Fisher's. It's a Jewy place. It's basically Jewish food. That is another Michael Solomonov place, and he sent us out not a roast beef, but it was some sandwich thing with like Thousand Island. I don't like Thousand Island and I don't like sandwiches. But what did I do? What did I actually do, Steven? I took a bite out of the sandwich with the bread and that Thousand Island terrible tasting stuff and the meat, and I tried it and I was like, I still don't like it with the roll. I tried it, Steven.
There you go.
All right? So you can go fuck yourself and you can go turn right around and fuck right off.
Hey, I will say, I'm weird when it comes to textures with food. Like, I'm not a big fan of onions smothered in your food, that kind of stuff. Mushrooms, I'm really weird with mushrooms. Not an allergy or anything, but I just don't like the texture. And
what about salad?
Salad, I'm fine with.
Tossing.
Funny. But I can't stand when there's many times when I go to my in-laws or something, and they're Italians and very particular about their own food and very proud of their food, and sometimes
what do you mean that's my food?
Always get called out about like, well, why are you putting the onions to the side, or why don't you like mushrooms, or why this? Why? I'm like, just leave me alone. Let me eat in peace. Let me
exactly, Steven.
Each
let
their
people
own.
Well, yeah, within reason.
Of course.
Except for if you're not unwilling to try certain things.
That's the big thing. You need to at least try. And if you tried it and you don't like it, then that's fine. But if you're refusing to try it, that's when it irks me.
Well, things like pork, I'm still not going to eat pork, so I'm not going to try pork.
Not a religious thing, right? That's just...
it's just how we were brought up. It was a religious thing more for my mom than it was for me, but when she's the one doing the food cooking, you don't eat pork. My dad will do a bacon burger. My brother will do a bacon burger. Like, that's just... I just
so you're the only one that
point.
It's stuck with, really?
Well, yeah, like that's why Jews don't do cheeseburgers, right? But you don't mix cheese and milk, dairy, but dairy and meat. But I don't... It's not me. Like, I don't care.
Practice that, yeah.
No, I don't practice. I eat shellfish, right? I love shellfish, and Jews aren't supposed to have shellfish.
No,
like,
I know. It's just funny that you kind of pick and choose like certain things. Yeah.
Right. I just chose not to.
Okay. Yeah.
And I choose not to.
Like I said, to each their own.
I do try food. Like, I do try different things. Like, oysters, you want to go down that path again?
Oh, boogers.
They're the worst things ever. And I did try them again, and I'm like, these still suck.
I've tried several times to get into oysters, and I keep hearing, like, oh, oysters are the best. And I'm like, all right, let me try. Meanwhile, my wife loves them. But every time I try, I'm just like, it just feels like I'm eating, like, creamy boogers or something. It's not filling either. You got to go through, like, 30 of them to have a meal.
And they're like $8 a piece.
They're so expensive. Yeah, it's not a great meal in my opinion, and it's not worth it.
Let me give the number, because someone send me a message like, I don't know how to say. I listened to RAWtalk, but I don't know how to text you on there. Well, why aren't you paying attention or checking the description? 313-710-9729 to text us that you love oysters and that you're weird like that. Speaking of oysters, is your wife allowed to eat oysters anymore? She's probably not allowed to eat oysters, and she's probably not supposed to have sushi either.
There's so many different things she can't eat at this point, and the reason is because we're pregnant.
No, she's pregnant. You just have a fucking six-pack in your stomach.
I mean, I got a nice little beer belly going on, but a keg, yeah.
You're working on it,
if you want to call it a six-pack, that's fine.
You're working on it.
But yes, we are officially 16 weeks pregnant. She is. And we made our news public this past weekend, and I had the joy of taking our baby announcement photo.
Well, I got a question. When you made it, what position were you in?
The photo you're talking about?
Yeah, the photo, Steven.
Well, right above the tripod, I was.
So what'd you do? You put out a photo. I saw your announcement that you put out. You set up a whole picture in your extra room.
Actually, just in my front room downstairs. So right where
is that near that sofa?
Right near the all-form sofa. Actually,
is that where it was? Where your baby was conceived?
No, the baby was not conceived there.
Because it's leather.
But yeah, I wanted to do one of those flat lay, baby announcements. But instead of, like everybody else buying a generic template on Etsy from some random photographer, I wanted to do it myself. And I wanted to also challenge myself. I'm like, let me see if I can actually make it look somewhat professional. And I wanted to make it unique and more, we use things from around the house. We use things from our wedding, stuff like that. I wanted to really make it ours. And I think I did a pretty good job with it. Now, I will say it took me like 2 hours to do. The design process of doing one of those flat lay photos. And when I say flat lay, it's one of those like top down shots of like decor and stuff like that.
S_Eckert.
S_ECKERT is my Instagram. You can see the announcement photo there. But yeah, it took about 2 hours and just trying to do the initial design and figure out where do I want things, how should it look. I think in the end of messing around with it, I got the final photo. Now it's a super janky setup because I didn't have a tripod that I could really shoot straight down. And I was initially just going to use a bunch of speed lights and just literally put my body over it, take a picture, and call it a day. But I'm like, you know what? I got plenty of light coming through. Put it on a tripod, do like a 2-second shutter, call it a day. And that's what I did. It was f8, ISO 100, about a 2-second shutter. I ended up almost leaning the tripod over with like books and different chairs to make sure it was level and taking the photo that way. Like I said, it was super janky, but it did work. And it all came together in the editing too. I used Mount Airy, one of our presets, and tweaked it from there. I ripped out a lot of the colors. It was a lot of greens and oranges and pure whites that I left in, and that's about it. So a very muted image. In the end, I think it looks pretty good.
I'm looking at it. It looks good. Mike, what is with the oranges that don't look like oranges? What
so
is that?
It's all fruit, stuff like that, dried up fruit, because it's the end of summer is when the baby is due, August 20th to be specific. So I tried to go for like a summertime theme, put some sticks and little tree stumps and stuff like that around. And Winnie the Pooh is the entire theme. So
yeah,
obviously,
why?
Our theme for the room is going to be like a Winnie the Pooh type themed room. So that's why we made it Winnie the Pooh. More of the old school Winnie the Pooh, because what I can't stand is when people do these kind of photos, but they mix in like the cartoon Winnie the Pooh and then like the old school, or like Mickey Mouse, for example. Like they'll do current day Mickey Mouse and then the old 50s looking Mickey Mouse, and you got to go with a consistent theme. That's the biggest thing in my opinion.
Oh, that is? Okay. What are you having?
Having a baby girl. We found out, I think the earliest you can find out is around 10 weeks what the gender is. We're about 16 weeks in right now. Actually just went for another ultrasound last night. And then next month we'll have the full anatomy scan, which will tell you if there's any physical problems with the baby. That's going to be a big one. And then hopefully smooth sailing until she's out.
Names?
No names right now. I mean, my wife has a lot that she's throwing around, but I still have to think
Shaquifa.
about. Yeah, that's actually one of them. Yep.
Jemima? When I have twins, they're going to be named Shaquifa and Jemima.
But I think the biggest thing is not telling people what you're thinking too, because when you start to say like, I kind of like this name, and then you get people's feedback like, I don't really like that one, and then you name the kid that, and you realize, you always remember that one time like, I remember she said she didn't like that name, or he said that, or whatever. So we're trying to keep that to ourselves, the naming.
Why would people be assholes and tell you they don't like a name? I will tell you I don't like the name behind your back, but I'm not going to say it to your face.
Yep, I know.
I'm going to be like, you named your kid fucking Wilder? What the fuck is a Wilder?
But we have a name picked out if it was a boy. That one's kind of set in stone at this point. I'm not going to say it on air. But for a girl, we're still debating. So I'm not going to say anything until she's out.
List
then
of
you'll
the
find
top
out her
1,000
name.
baby girls' names. Olivia, Emma, Charlotte, Amelia, Ava, Sophia, Isabella, Mia. They all have fucking A's on the end. eBay, Ladasha.
eBay? What?
No, I just made that up.
I was like, what?
I think I did meet someone named eBay or Etsy. I don't know, dude.
Speaking of Etsy, I was telling my wife, I'm like, I really should I should make a bunch of these different themed, blank letterboard templates and sell them on Etsy, because I could do a killer job of doing some of the most popular baby announcement themes right now. Do like 10 of them, sell them for $10 a pop with a blank template, or, put in the letters myself after the fact.
Wait, you mail it to them?
No. You just literally give them a JPEG file, and that's their baby announcement.
Oh,
that's
you
how
take a picture
most
of it.
people do it. Not even. I could just do a template and then in Photoshop put the letters in after the fact. I mean, it's that easy.
Or you could just take pictures with random names and then already have them on file.
Yeah, but if they want something specific, like they want it to say baby girl or baby boy, or they want to say the due date or something like that,
That's a good idea, Steven. You could do it here, and then I can make all the money and you make 12%, 12.5%.
Nope. Not happening. But
you sure?
It really is a simple process. It just takes time. I mean, when you have all the little trinkets and stuff you want to use to decorate it, and have it themed properly, it's as simple as literally just taking a photo.
Well, congratulations, Steven. We're going to move
Thank
on.
you.
We've had enough talk about this little baby thing happening.
Oh, I did, by the way, for any of you Disney fans, I put a little hidden Mickey in there too, because Winnie the Pooh is Disney owned. I know you don't know what that means, but
Mickey's racist. I know what it means. There's hidden Mickeys all over Disney World, and I think people are morons for going to fucking Disney and as adults and being all like, oh, I got to Disney World. Yay, I was a kid once and now I'm an adult going around to all of these things and spending all this money because Disney is a ripoff at how expensive it is to just go and do some bullshit.
By the way, I think we're going to Disney in March, just FYI.
What do you mean you're going to Disney in March?
My entire family, we do every 5 years or so, we do a big trip. And Disney, I believe, is in March, and we're going to try and make it. She'll be about
Where do you stay?
5-6 months old at that point.
Where do you stay?
Well, typically we stay on property, but this year I think we're going to try and split some of the families up and do houses close to Disney. It's just a lot cheaper doing it that way.
Steven. Sounds terrible taking a newborn to Disney.
Yeah, we're going to be with family. And they all have newborns as well, so.
Lame. Can we move on from newborn talk, please?
Yeah, we should talk about Shake Shack some more and eating hamburgers and stuff like that.
And my jeans. Fuck off, Steven.
Not the joys of life or anything like that.
Let's talk about this. Scott Wilson, he's a follower. He sent a text in. He's like, I would like your comment on this. And it's a video that's only 15 seconds that we're going to play you, and then we're going to comment on. It's about a Google Pixel. So, Steven, roll that audio. Now, just understand, this is a video, but we're going to explain the video to you after you listen to how dumb it is. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, play.
I used to be a photographer with this nice fancy SLR camera, and then now I take photos with this. When people see my photos, they think it's from an expensive camera, and I feel like a fraud because I'm like, no, it's just from my nice Google Pixel. My name is Michelle, and I have a Google Pixel.
I used to be a photographer with this nice fancy SLR camera, and then now I take photos with this. And when people ask to see my photos, they're like, I can't even understand that these were taken with that. I thought it was done with a real camera. Are you fucking kidding me? This is the worst piece of garbage shit I've ever seen. Like, the comment section, this is the worst ad ever. Horrible advice. The photos clearly look terrible. People telling her this image looks like they were done with a real camera clearly don't know what a good image is. Jared Polin left that comment.
It's your comment. I'm like, wait, people really commented that? It's your comment.
That's funny. That's funny, Steven. I left that comment because it's true.
There's only like 8 comments too, and you're one of them.
I'm 2 of them because I said she also says SLR.
Oh, you commented again?
We talking 25 years ago or something? It's just so
you commented on your comment.
I did, and I just thumbs both of them up. Don't forget, put this link in the description of the audio of the podcast so people can go see it. If you want to look it up because you don't want to check it out, it's hashtag Team Pixel Camera. I used to be a photographer with a fancy camera, now I take photos. First off, Google, hey guys, can you come up with a better title? That's a very shitty title to come up with. It should have been like Google Pixel versus real camera. And anyway, 15 seconds is terrible. What do you think about this garbage, Steven? She has enough tattoos. Not that there's anything wrong with tattoos, but she's got a neck tattoo.
Yeah, she's pretty tatted up for sure. I mean, I just, when you're saying I used to have a fancy SLR, I mean, are we talking like 30 years ago? Are we talking pre-internet? Are we talking, 10 years ago and you're scanning the images and then putting them on your Instagram account with a ton of grain and noise? And meanwhile, you're now shooting with a Google Pixel that's pretty clean because it's from a current
Steven,
smartphone.
but those photos look too sharp. They over-sharpen. They look like cell phone photos.
Yeah, but when they're on Instagram and they're, the size of on your phone screen, like no one can tell the difference.
Just that's all I wanted to say about that. It's just absolute garbage, that commercial. So
why would they not pick someone that said like I had a fancy DSLR or I had a fancy camera in general and just keep it very broad and vague?
I think she's an actress. Like, they hired her and they wrote a script.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, I used to have a real camera. Now I just go around with my Google Pixel because it's just so much better for getting the job done. Yeah, because that's what you do with it.
But I just, if they had a script, why would they not write it out like, let's make sure it's a DSLR, make sure it's a current day mirrorless camera, not relating it to a 20-year-old film camera.
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to move on from that. My friend the other day said that I kind of remind her of Larry David because I always...
Because you complain about everything?
Basically. So, because I told her a story, and then I'm like, people think I'm like Larry David, because that would be a good Larry David skit. Do you want to hear the story? Some gallows humor.
I will say you definitely are Larry David / Jerry Seinfeld, for sure. Nitpick every little thing, yep.
I do. So, my mom died, right? 2008?
Yeah.
Yeah, she died. And you go to the funeral home, and at the funeral home, they you're talking about what upgrades do you want, all that bullshit. Which when you're a Jew, and my mom, all she wanted was a plain pine box, which is what you get, is a plain pine box.
Okay.
There's no reason to have that. That's just what Jews.
Fancy coffin, yeah.
There's no need for a fancy. It's getting buried anyway. Who gives a shit? Like, you're dead. Like, you're fucking dead. Anyway, so they hand you like the bill for all the stuff that it's going to be, and I'm reading over it, and there's a line in there, $800 for refrigeration. So I said to the guy, "What the fuck did you do? Buy a new refrigerator? Like $800 for 2 days of refrigeration? Are you kidding me?" See, no one ever says anything because it's like grieving and they have you over a barrel.
Sure.
But I'm like, $800 for refrigeration? I'm like, what a fucking racket, dude.
Yeah, I can't comment on that, obviously, but I don't know. I always
He wasn't
question
expecting me
how much do those
to say
giant
something.
refrigerators cost?
Well, I don't know what type of refrigerator it is. I'm sure
Obviously,
it's
you
some
need
special thing.
A big one to put a body in, yeah.
But $800 for refrigeration?
Seems
That
a
was
little,
just-
little excessive, yeah.
A little excessive, a little taking advantage of people, do you think?
Sure.
Let's Google this.
Your average coffin, isn't it like $5,000?
$6,000.
$6,000,
I
yeah.
was just MKBHD put out a video where he said yes to new to people sending him everything, to review. One was a coffin, and one was a coffin by a company that just had a video in a Taylor Swift video, and he's like, this is a direct to consumer coffin, so it's only like $1,600 or something, whereas in retail the coffin would sell for like $5,000 to $6,000 for the same exact thing.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, well, it's a coffin. If it, like, you got to be in Pennsylvania, you got to be buried in a coffin. You have the coffin, but around the whole thing, they have a lining of concrete now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, like kind of like. Shouldn't you just go back into the earth?
I was going to say, I feel like it should be the opposite.
No, because they're worried about water tables and they're worried about bodies seeping into the water or something. So, Steven, I hope no one searches my Google history, not for the other stuff I'm looking at, but how much does it cost to refrigerate a dead body? Storage fees range from $35 to $100 a day. Now, this is in 2016, so with inflation, we'll call it $65 to $200 a day. Still not $800 for refrigeration.
What was it? The one guy that just recently, I think he's on trial for killing his wife, and they found his iPad and literally all of the search history that
Murdaugh?
No, it
Whatever
wasn't
his
him.
name is?
It wasn't him. That he killed his wife and his son. It was the other guy. I forget his name. Brian Walsh. It was Brian Walsh, and I think she was missing for a while. And then they ended up convicting him of the actual murder. And they found his son's iPad, which he had all these Google searches of like how to dispose of a dead body if you really needed to, or like dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. And can you be charged with murder without a body? Like all these searches that you can tell clearly he's probably the killer.
Hey, that's why this part of this podcast is brought to you by VPNs, virtual private networks. Saves your information from being seen by other people, where you can reroute it and delete it. It's not actually brought to you by somebody. How much does it actually cost to keep a body in the morgue? Funerals in the U.S. rarely happen on the same day that someone dies. And so to postpone the onset of decomposition, it will be necessary to store a deceased before they are buried or cremated. This may happen at a hospital or local mortuary or at a funeral itself. Storage of descendants in refrigerated morgues costs on average $115 per day. Often, the first 24 to 72 hours are covered in basic funeral home packages. They fucking lied. They lied. But not always shit. Daily charges normally follow an initial custodian charge or funeral package, which can be in the thousands of dollars. Hi, this is an extra fee for you can expect to pay a daily refrigeration charge of as little as $25. That's for the fly-by-night refrigeration charge, and as much as $550 depending on where the body is being held. If you were to store a body in a morgue or similar estimate for a week beyond what you already have covered in your funeral package, you could expect to pay anywhere between $175 and $3,850, with $810.52 being the fucking average. This is a racket. I am appalled. I am appalled by $800 for refrigeration.
Yeah, I don't think that's really necessarily a specific Larry David thing. I think that anyone would be annoyed at that charge of $800 for refrigeration. But I guess, when they're in the middle of grieving, they just let it happen.
Exactly. When you're grieving, they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like,
make me more sad. Take more money.
Yeah, take my money. Here's my credit card. Do you take
you would think
Venmo?
life insurance would, cover all that, but
I don't know that insurance covers funeral. Like,
No?
some cover funeral expenses. No, most people pay for their own funeral expenses.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Hey, can we move on to some photography stuff now that
Yes.
you've gone down this path
Yeah.
of life and death?
Yes.
I can't believe you did this, Steven.
all
Let's
my
talk
fault,
about
I
the
know.
2022 recap video.
Great video. I was very happy with how that came out. Yeah.
Well, it was titled "I Needed This."
Well, it was titled something before that.
It was.
Do you want to describe what it is exactly for those who haven't seen it?
I wrote a video at the end of 2022 talking about my photographic journey in 2022, that it was an unbelievable year for me personally in the photography standpoint of all of the amazing things I got to shoot.
It's essentially
from the World Series,
recap of 2022. Yeah.
From the bowlers to the World Series to other photo stories to the Artemis rocket. And I wrote a recap that explained the how and the why. How did I get in touch with these people? And then what I photographed. And we wanted to keep it moving, keep the story good, put the photos in there, not make it too long. And the only problem was, what the hell do you title this? Because if you title it 2022 Recap, no one's going to watch
views.
it.
Absolutely zero views. Now, I will say, when we were filming that video and you were describing the script to me and then we actually did the video, at the way in, the last minute or two, I think the overall theme of the video is to just do. You kept that line, you kept repeating that, just do. Get out there and shoot and just do, because you don't know what you're missing type of theme, you know? So initially, when I was editing the video, I had the project file called Just Do. And I was like, maybe we can call it Just Do, but I don't know if that's really clicky enough. And I did see a lot of people comment that, like, I really like that theme of the video, like just do,
But they
get
may
out there
not
and
have
shoot.
clicked on it.
But would you have clicked on it if it was called Just Do? That's it. Literally just do.
I had a list of like 30 titles going for that.
So then we went back and forth for a while trying to figure out what to name it.
Part of it is I didn't post it for a day because I was going to post it, and then I'm like, I just can't. I'm so worried about a title that I don't want it to flop.
And we try and hold the bigger videos that we think will make a bigger splash for the weekends. But the weekend passed because, like you said, you were
I put it up
off.
Sunday. I was going to do it Saturday, but I just didn't get to it.
So we ended up putting it up
Sunday.
Sunday. Because, you know, typically more people are home. They have time to actually sit there and watch a video right then and there. But we were going back and forth between the I Needed This title versus, what was the other one that you had?
Something I failed and...
I failed until ... or something like that.
Yeah, I failed until.
I like the I Needed This. You like the other one. I think they were both good titles. It's just, you know, one... I don't know. I mean, it was very hard to say which was going to do better.
Yeah, but so when I went with the original one, I made 2 thumbnails and I made 2 titles. And I uploaded it, and it was doing not very well. It wasn't doing great. And then I had Steven, because I was out, I'm like, go ahead and change the title.
And we changed it to I Needed This ... which to me could be anything. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be photography related. It could be a life related thing. It could be anything. And I think it's very vague and broad.
Well, instantly, once we made the change, you can look back at the spike, and the spike instantly went up like 3-fold on the back of YouTube. You can see that where we changed the title, the views started to come in. And this is why we continually say it would be unbelievably amazing to be able to have 2 titles and 2 thumbnails that you put in, and then YouTube tests it and then chooses the right one, the one that's doing the best.
And there's a lot of times where, you know, we come down to 2 titles, exactly what happened, and you like the one title and I like the other one more. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, I'm always like, just whatever you want to do, man. I think they're both decent. I'm not going to fight you on it. But yeah, at least we had a second title as a backup, which obviously worked out in the end. See, I was super proud of this video too, because this was a very difficult edit. And again, I think the overall theme and script of the video was really solid. It was just really tough visually to put it together, because most of the story was about your bowling experience over the year, shooting baseball. You're shooting the World Series, the playoffs, all of that, the Phillies, and then shooting the Artemis launch. And most of that, we didn't have much to go off of. Like, there weren't a lot of videos that we could, you know, pull stuff off of. There were things that you mentioned that I just didn't have footage of. Like, you talk about traveling and stuff like that. And I'm like, I've got nothing really. So the goal was to try and pick older videos and showcase your journey throughout the year. And it was really tough to do that. And I had no B-roll. When you talk about like sitting at the studio, twiddling your thumbs, or like recording your own videos at the studio, I tried to go back and pull B-roll from other older content, which really worked out, I think, in the end, but it did make the edit that much longer to do. And I think it was a really solid video. We saw from the comments, people really liked it. So if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend watching it.
It's videos like that where I write a script that, you know, I come across a certain way when I write these things because it's just easier for me to articulate everything. Like I write it a specific way so that I can get the words out and not go off script, which is where it extends the length of the video when I start talking and ranting and doing other stuff. And this is just to the point, exactly what it was, try to cover it with B-roll and other footage and make it work.
And how these scripted videos work is you literally make the script on your own, then we kind of go over it together and I kind of say like, yeah, I can make that work. I think we can pull this footage and showcase this and that. So it's really tough because you're kind of like, here's the script, figure it out, and then me and Dan have to go in there and try and figure out like which B-roll to show. Or if there's something very specific that you talked about, I have to reach out to you and say like, where's this footage or where's this file or whatever it may be. It's videos like this that take a long time to make, but in the end, I think they're some of the best content that we put out there. I really like these types of videos that like humanize you,
As long as you can get people to click on it. Because the worst is we create these awesome videos. And it's the same thing with when I hit 1 million subscribers. If I put thanks 1 million or 1 million subscriber video, it would have flopped. But because I said, is this the end of Frono's Photo after 9 years? People were like, oh shit. And then they watched the video and like, this is freaking amazing.
Typically, I will usually go in there and film like dramatized B-roll of you doing something after the fact, just something to show like what you meant in your script or to visualize what you're talking about. But this time around, I didn't really have time to do that. And thankfully, I did have time to go back and pull certain B-roll that we shot for other scripted videos that also worked for this one. And I think that really tied the whole thing together. And in the end, again, I think the message is the biggest thing, the just do. And I do question, like, if we called it that, would you guys have watched? But I don't know. I think we both talked about it, and I think I Needed This is kind of the best title out of the
Just
bunch.
Do has like, so Just Do is do what? And I think people may skip it.
It's vague.
I know, but I needed this.
It's short and sweet.
You needed something. What was that? I know that's very similar, but that's the stuff we go through is how do we come up with titles that are clickbaity because that they have to be, but then of course they deliver.
Yeah.
We know they deliver because you could see that the watch time is 60%.
And I think it is clickbait, but at the same time, it's not because the overall theme of the video is that you needed to just get away. You need to get out and shoot. You need to do your own thing. So we still try to relate it in some way to the video. As much as it seems like clickbait to an outsider, it still does make sense when you watch the video and you see, okay, Jared did need this.
Exactly.
Also, I had this original intro. Jared and I discussed like let's the first like few seconds let's show off like what you shot throughout the year and show like footage of Jared shooting and show some pictures and make it really like spice it up and kind of come out swinging, so when people click on the video they're instantly like locked in and they want to watch the rest of the video. Because at the time when we first filmed it, I didn't know how much B-roll we were going to show throughout the video. I thought it was going to be more of like a talking head piece. So I'm like, all right, let's at least lock them in. So I did this kind of epic little intro, but at the end we stripped it out and it kind of makes sense because it starts off with like the Phillies game, the Phillies winning the playoffs and then going to the World Series. And I think that does turn a lot of people off if you're not a Philadelphia Phillies fan, or from the area. We found that from the lens reviews and stuff where we showcased Phillies photos. And
well, my whole thing with the intro was it was a 30-second intro montage.
Yeah, but I could have cut that down easily.
I know. So I went to Steven. I'm like, cut it. Just cut it all together. Get right into the story, because I know from successful YouTube channels that if you don't get right to the point sometimes, like give people something that I just felt that it was boring to me and I didn't want to see it because it wasn't me. It wasn't my photos. It was B-roll of maybe me on the field, and then it was Philly stuff cheering.
So it was everything you shot. I tried to show like it was broadcasted on a TV because everything you shot was pretty much broadcasted, right? We did the Phillies game, then you did the bowling stuff, the PBA stuff, and then you did the NASA launch. So I tried to show like it was turning the channel and showing these different themes that you shot or whatever. And it goes to show that there's plenty of things that like I was really happy with it, but I also understand the reasoning for cutting it. I totally get like let's just jump into it, and people might get turned off by the Phillies, and it is 30 seconds long and all of that. So I didn't really give you a fight as much as I was kind of disappointed. I was like, all right, whatever you want. But there's plenty of times where we go to town as editors and we're happy with something, but it might not make that much sense to keep it in. So, I spent 2 hours or so on that, and it's 2 hours of wasted work at the end of the day, but you really don't know until you're done with it. And then you're like, it doesn't really make sense. Let's cut it out.
All right, moving on. Canon R5 rumors of new firmware, but not actual R5 Mark II. Potentially new firmware now to hold people over or to sell through their old inventory until in 2024, where we get an R1, because they've said that the R1 is coming. They didn't say when or what it is. And then that the R5 Mark II might come around the same exact time.
So I'm curious. I mean, it seems like the R5 Mark II is really going to be a much different camera because, in my opinion, most of this stuff would have been the new differentiators from the R5 Mark II to the R5. Most of this, the new firmware updates.
Well, possible R5 update coming, excuse me. Lens breathing correction, pre-shooting buffer, removal of 30-minute record limit, vehicle tracking AF modes, additional tracking for more animals.
I mean, it's essentially everything that was added to the R6 Mark II minus some of the hardware things.
I mean, this makes total sense that they should be able to do it if they did it with an R6 Mark II, even though the R6 Mark II has a new sensor. It just makes sense that they would. It's the same processor. So it doesn't make any sense why they couldn't remove some of these things. But that is like, what would they do different with an R5 Mark II?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It seems like the logical thing would have been that most of these new features would have been the R5 Mark II, and that would have been the reason to update because of these new features. But now it's like, is the R5 Mark II really going to be a totally different camera?
Right.
Because
different
it has
sensor.
to be now if you're giving the updates, these types of updates to the R5.
Right. I would think it would get a larger sensor, right? Instead of 20 to 24, which is what the R6 Mark II did, maybe they'll go from 45 to 61. But you still need to do the 8K video. So I don't want to speculate there because I have no idea. We haven't seen an R5 Mark II or honestly heard anything about that stuff yet. I'm more excited for an R1.
And I am as well, but we saw with the R6 Mark II that it was more of like an incremental update. You got the digital hot shoe added. You got a lot of the R3 autofocusing system features added. You got the brand new sensor. The biggest thing I think were the video features. They were really updated with the raw video output and with the 6K to 4K downsampling, 4K 60p full frame, that kind of stuff. But again, with an R5 Mark II, like it would be more of, again, an incremental update if you base it off the R6 Mark II update. Now I think it's got to be a major update if they're adding these things to the R5.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see, but R1 with what I said this in Photo News Fix, with what the R6 Mark II is doing, and honestly what the R8 is doing, it makes you think, what the hell is a stacked sensor R1 going to do? With the fact that you could do 40 frames per second with a non-stacked sensor, it's making me think you're going to be doing 60, 80 frames a second, potentially RAW with full autofocus with a stacked sensor.
We already saw you have the 195 frames per second feature in the R3, although that's
which is a 50 burst.
Very limiting.
It's a burst of 50 without autofocus, but it's still full RAW.
Burst of 50 at 195 frames per second, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But the R1, it's got to be something insane because you have so many great features now in the R6 Mark II, the R5, the R8, like you just said, the R3. I mean, are we going to see a totally different new focusing system? Like instead of dual pixel AF2 that they've been using for quite some time now, are we finally going to see the rumored quad pixel AF? Are we going to see an 80 megapixel sensor, like something super high res, like you said, a stack sensor?
I don't think you're going to see super high res. I think you're going to see a sports action.
I agree.
Fast shooting. I hope it's the same, but I hope it's a similar body to the R3 in terms of weight because it's fantastic.
Oh, it's incredible.
We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully we get early hands-on. Hopefully they like what we've been doing and be like, guys, let's get early hands-on. But I don't know if that will end up happening. Now, if they end up doing a trip, I've said, you guys, you know where you should do a trip? Philadelphia. So I don't have to go very far.
I will say, though, I do think the R5 Mark II is still going to be their high-resolution photo shooting camera where, like you said, the R1 is probably still going to be 30 megapixels, maybe 33, a lower just because that's what sports shooters are so used to. However, your buddy who now shoots with the R5, Bruce Bennett, he does love the croppability of having a 45 megapixel sensor. So will sports shooters, end up liking the high res sensor? I don't know. And then there was one more thing about the R5 firmware update that Canon Rumors was reporting. They specifically said, we were also told to expect a couple of new features for the EOS R5, which are above and beyond anything currently in the EOS R lineup, which I find that very interesting because that's something Canon never does. They never give new features via like a firmware update to older cameras. It's typically found in a new model that's being released, and then it trickles down via a firmware update to older cameras. But I've never seen new features being incorporated to older cameras. I don't really see that happening, like introducing new features via firmware update.
Okay, moving on to the A1 update for Sony. Now, this is called a wild rumor from Sony Alpha Rumors, which every rumor on their website is a wild rumor. But it says new Sony A1 firmware is being tested by the Chinese Independent Cinematographers Association. And right there, you can call bullshit, because there's nothing independent in China about anything. You can't have an independent cinematographer association. That's bullshit. They'd be dead. They would be working for the government. It just doesn't exist in a communist country. So right there, I think you could call bullshit on this rumor. And here's what the rumor said. Recently, some photographers have upgraded to the latest firmware for the A1, which improves usability and AF performance and carries over some of the features of the A7R5, such as subject recognition. Now, I spoke to a friend who knows quite a lot about Sony and says, well, that doesn't make any sense because the A1 has a different processor than the A7R5.
I thought it has the same processor, but it does not have the dedicated autofocus processor that was introduced in the A7R5.
Okay. Right. It didn't have the same processor that was dedicated into that.
Yeah.
So that, if you really think about it, one, there is no such thing as a Chinese Independent Cinematographers Association, because I Googled it, which maybe Google is blocking it, but nothing came up whatsoever at all with that other than this article.
It seems like it would be limited by its current hardware, is what you're saying.
Right. So, which makes it think that instead of a firmware update updating the autofocus, they might have to go to an A1 Mark II, which then incorporates some tweaks and changes, which will piss off people who have A1s because they spent $6,500 for an A1, which is still a great camera, still get a lot done with it, but that autofocus mode is a lot better in the A7R5.
Is the A1 2 years old now? It's only like a year and a half, right?
We got it during the middle of the pandemic.
2021, I think, January or something like that.
Let me look it up. Sony A1 release date. Let's see if
it's still a
Ken Rockwell. It says March of 2021. So
okay. So it's 2 years. Okay, wow.
It's time.
It is still a great camera, though, for being 2 years old.
It was insane when it got announced. We didn't expect that.
50 megapixel stack sensor, 30 frames per second, 8K video. I mean, it still holds up. I still consider it one of the best flagships out there.
It is, except for the fact that it's not in a body that feels like an R3.
No, I do wish, though, the R3 had 50 megapixel stacked versus the 24. That's the only thing I wish it had.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, putting that stuff to bed. I got a message from some guy who was upset about a product that he bought. He bought a product, and he's in the United States, and there was he bought it off of, what did he tell me? He bought it off of eBay, I think, and was upset because it ended up being a gray market camera.
Most things on eBay are.
They didn't specify that it was a gray market, or they didn't specify or explain what that means. For anybody that doesn't know, gray market means that if you're in the United States and you buy a gray market camera, that it doesn't come with a United States, a U.S. warranty.
Yep.
So what happens is if a repair needs to be made, then it has to be sent back to the country of origin, which most likely is Japan or China or wherever else, could be Europe where the warranty is. And so generally speaking, those cameras are less expensive. Now, companies do this all the time. There's this one that I despise since I was a little kid, is Abe's of Maine. Abe's of Maine, right? I think they're a fucking scam artist.
I'm pretty sure I bought a Speedlight on there like 15 years ago, and it was like half price of what it was selling for everywhere else. So I'm pretty sure it was a gray market item, but to this day, it still works fine.
Well, so I'm okay with gray market in certain senses of the word. Like if you're buying a gray market battery, I don't think it matters.
Sure,
you're not going to send the battery back. It's a battery. Gray market lens is a different story because it doesn't have a warranty. But if you go on to Abe's of Maine, which I don't recommend that you do, they have, I typed in R3 and it shows a price of $46.99.99. You save $1,300, which is 22%. On the side, it says free shipping, availability, in stock, condition new. And so let's read this. This deal will be ending in 12 minutes. Yeah, they have one of these fake counters that go down. They have the SKU. They have a manufacturer's number. It says brand new factory fresh import model.
There you go. Import model.
Click here to see the return policy.
That's their way of saying it's gray market.
Right. That's their way to say that it's gray market without saying that it's gray market. And back in the day, some of these companies used to be like, yeah, the R3 will be $3,999. And then you call and they're like, yeah, but you need to buy the charger and now you need to buy the battery. So they would split the box up with shit that you were going to get and try to charge you more. And it ends up being more. Because people would fall for this. So that's how they say brand new factory fresh import model. It doesn't have a click that says what import model means. So people who don't know are going to purchase this camera thinking they're buying it in the US. And it's not. It's a gray market product. Even under description, nothing. It says nothing about gray market. Should I call them right now and ask them what kind of warranty this comes with?
Well, it looks like you have to buy a separate warranty. They offer a 3-year DOP protection plan for $500 starting.
That's all bullshit. This is all bullshit. I mean, I'd love to call them, but I don't have their permission to record them, which I don't know if Maine is a 2-consent state. I think PA is. Yeah, there's all these rules about recording people without their consent. You have to let them know that they're being recorded. But I guarantee you call them and that, I want to call them, Steven. I'm going to call them right now. I'm going to call them. We're going to take a pause and I'll report back. So I just got off the phone with the guy, but look, if you were to buy, so he basically was like, it doesn't come with the U.S. warranty. So they're not lying to you, except for the fact that on the website, if you didn't talk to a person and you didn't know any better, you would see that it says brand new factory fresh import model. And if you don't know what that means, you're screwed.
You might think import model means, imported from Japan or something. You didn't.
That's correct.
You know what I mean? It still has
call.
a USA warranty, but no, that means it's a gray market item.
It used to say gray market back in the day, but yeah, that's what the Abe's of Maine guy said. They admitted on the phone, but unfortunately, if people are just buying it online because they see that it says $46.99, it doesn't say doesn't come with a U.S. warranty. I can't find that on this page at all. Oh, Q&A. Get your questions answered. Nope, doesn't have anything there that says it.
So he did note that Canon USA will not repair this if there is a problem, and you will have to get it repaired by a third-party, repair center or something. So he was honest about the whole thing, and I will say, I mean, saving $1,300 by buying a gray market item, it depends. Like you said, depends what you're buying. I don't know if I'd buy a body or a lens, but batteries or like a speed light, like I said I did before.
Yeah, even a speed light. Even a speed light where maybe you save $300 for a speed light.
I'm pretty sure that's what I did, yeah.
It may be better to save the money because even if it goes bad, it's cheaper to buy a new one. But what I'm saying is it's misleading on their website. If you buy online and it doesn't say U.S. warranty, this is where you need to call and question. There's a reason why the prices are $1,300 less than B&H or Allen's Camera or Adorama. I only recommend you buy from Allen's Camera, B&H, Adorama. I'm sure Sammy's Camera in California is a reputable company. If you go to a place, and I would never buy from Ritz Camera, fuck them. I would if you want to know if a price is legitimate, go to B&H's website and look at their website and see what pricing is. Because if B&H has it for a certain price, that's the price.
Well, that's the actual MSRP. Yes,
right. And so that's what you need to pay attention to.
It's one of those things that, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true.
Do not buy on eBay cameras unless you know what you're getting into. There's a reputable store in New Jersey. No, there's a reason why it's cheaper. Do not do that. If you want to buy from a reputable store, buy from a reputable store. Don't buy via eBay.
What I find odd is that if you look up the R6 Mark II on Abe's of Maine, they're selling that for the same price as something like B&H, $24.99, and they're saying it's a brand new factory fresh import model. So they're selling a gray market item for the same price as a USA warranty Canon R6 Mark II.
Okay, because that's super deceiving.
Yeah. No, even an R5, it says $38.99, and same thing, brand new factory fresh import model. So it's only the R3 that you're getting that crazy discount on. Very odd.
You want me to call them back, Steven, and be like, how are you charging the same price for a camera that is import? This is import.
Yeah,
it says
you're right.
factory fresh import.
Yeah.
But I wonder on their website, does it say anything what that even means? I'm just going to go ahead and say that they're misleading people by calling it factory fresh import model, because they're not mentioning gray market there. And what you would think is there would be a highlight over factory fresh import so that when you click it, it says what that means, but they're hiding the fact that it doesn't come with a U.S. warranty. They're just hiding that fact.
I'm looking up now. They do have actually an R5 body only for $3,019, so you're saving $880 if you buy that brand new, again, import model, gray market. The one I was looking at earlier, it looks like it was like a bundle package, and they were selling it for $38.99, but you get all these little things with it.
See, they're selling factory fresh import models with a bunch of extra shit to try and
make it look
trick
like
you into getting it.
It's the same price as B&H, and it's a real USA warranty product. Yep.
That's bullshit. It's just bullshit because it should be highlighted the word import model or factory fresh import, or what's it say? I forget already.
Brand new factory fresh import model.
Right. Import model. I should be able to click that and it should say import model means it does not come with a U.S. warranty.
Yep.
So they'll tell you on the phone, but they will not tell you on the website. And I guarantee you most of their sales are made from a website.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. One other story I want to talk about right now. CNN has this article, and it's an opinion, and it's on a new trend called bare minimum Mondays. And I'm like, what the hell is that?
Sounds like my kind of Monday.
Yeah, this follows in the steps of quiet quitting, another dumb, stupid statement, which was you didn't quit, but you stopped really working until someone fired you because you did the bare minimum. Well, I guess it's kind of like bare minimum Mondays. So let's see. I'll skip a bunch of this stuff and let's see. More to the point, I'm not a true member of the congregation of Xenials is what the guy's saying. TikTok belongs to Generation Z, the 11 to 26-year-olds now poised to inherit the earth, blah, blah, blah. By the Times of the News, latest trend sweeping the platform reaches my ears, it dispels, what the fuck is that word? Disciples? Wait, what is this word? Is this even a word? Disciple? A personal follower of Jesus? Oh, disciple. Jesus God Christ.
Disciples.
Disciple. D-I-S-C-I-P-L-E. Disciple. Yeah, Jared's eyes fucking sucked. Yeah, laugh at me all you want. Har, har, har. Disciple. He fucking can't read English. That's true. I don't read very well, but it looks like disciple because the I wasn't in there because my eye is blurry right now. Anyway, had already spread the world far and wide, meaning that when I finally sat down, cracked my increasingly brittle knuckles, and Googled bare minimum Mondays, I was met with a page after of results. The premise, according to TikTok creator, startup founder, and convert Marissa Jomays, is that many of us spend Sundays making insanely long to-do lists, putting ourselves under paralyzing pressure to get our lives together. As a result, we hit Mondays primed for stress and unable to focus or engage properly with work. This sense of chaotic unease ripples across the week, costing us more in terms of productivity and vitality than any amount of effort can compensate for. Bare minimum Monday devotees instead make the conscious decision to coast on the first day of the work week, thus conserving their energy. It was like some magic spell came over me, Mayer explains. I felt better. I wasn't overwhelmed, and I actually got more done than I expected. Are you fucking kidding me? Get a fucking vibrator, all right? Do you want to re-energize and power yourself? Diddle yourself because you'll feel better. What they're saying is that they have so long of a to-do list to do on Sunday. Cool, you got Saturday and Sunday, and you then have your work on Monday. If you're so busy on the weekend that you can't function on Monday, that's your fault. You need to act like an adult and actually prioritize your shit and stop doing this bullshit that, oh, I need to prioritize my mental health. I need pet bereavement time off. I need a mental day. I need some air. I need to do this. Well, stop going to brunch, you fucking pansy.
I mean, I do think Sunday scaries are a real thing, you know, getting a little anxious about the work week and what you have what you have to do. Well, you could do whatever the hell you want. You're an entrepreneur, dude. It's way different. Mm-hmm. But I do think it's a real thing, you know, especially, for me this week, like we had a lot to film and there was a lot riding on me. So I always get a little anxious Sunday night, but doesn't mean I'm like, coasting by on Monday. If anything, I'm working full force on Monday. But I did like this one quote from the article. It says, unlike quiet quitting, which was a misleading descriptor of the phenomenon it described, bare minimum Mondays do pretty much what the packet promised. The trends share one vital characteristic, though. They both present as evidence that the younger generation is made up of coddled self-care obsessives. And I think that's spot on.
Yeah, like you feel like you can do the bare minimum and that everybody should reward you for doing the bare minimum and you should get more. Where I have the freedom to do what the fuck I want when I want because I worked my ass off nonstop 20 fucking hours a day for like a decade at the YouTube game. Nonstop, not 20 hours. I mean, but I was maybe doing 6 hours of sleep. I was working 18, 19-hour days making YouTube content, editing, doing all my own shit because I worked my ass off. I didn't wake up and be like, oh, there's going to be a Monday. I better coast easy. You know what? I need to go get a latte. It was like when I went down the street to that new coffee place down the street that's made up of alternate lifestyle people when you go in there. I'm talking about different haircuts. I'm talking about they don't even have a rainbow flag. I was offended they didn't have a rainbow flag because I would have felt better if they did. But what they did have is they have a rack of flannel jackets. It looks like the Hipsters Are Us Central. Would you like to fit in and be one of us? Here's a beanie, here's a pair of pants, and here's a flannel jacket.
Well, that is the ultimate irony of all of the hipsters, is that they try to be so different. They try to dress differently, yet they all look the same. They all look exactly the same and wear the same shit, yet they're being different. Makes no sense to me. And speaking of bare minimum Mondays, like I have a friend that will grocery shop during the middle of the day. How do you have time to do all of this? I barely have time to look at my phone during the workday. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't especially grocery shopping during the middle of the day. Like, how are you not caught by your boss? Or what if they need you to do something middle of the day, like, and you're not home? What happens? I don't leave my house until like after work because usually you call me at least once or twice a day.
Yeah, but I tell you all the time, like, you do your work, man. Like, you could go do what you need to do, but you know that if there's something is under deadline, you got to get it done.
I try and schedule everything either before or after work too, especially with the recent ultrasounds and going to the fertility clinic and stuff like that. Like, I'll try and do it before work or after. I try to make sure it doesn't interfere with work, but obviously if it needs to, that will take precedence over work for sure. But everyday things like grocery shopping, I'll save it for the weekend. I'll save it for after work, whatever. I'll get that done later.
Well, it just feels like the age demographic that is doing this bare minimum bullshit, they just feel like, well, their weekend is for them. Yeah, the weekend is for you, but also you need to be an adult about your priorities and make sure that you are prepared for going into your work week. And if your list is so fucking long, well, what's your problem? And your list usually consists of, and I'm just going to say it, is like, let's wake up and then we're going to go to brunch. I'm going to do some yoga. I'm going to go to the plant store to buy another plant. I'm going to walk my dog that I can't take care of, but I'm going to have a dog anyway. And then I have to go do this. And then I have to go on Tinder. Well, no, they probably don't even use Tinder anymore. Then I got to go to a Fendant. Then I got to meditate, and then I got to go out to dinner for drinks, and I got to meet people, and then I'm just so tired from the weekend that I need another day off on Monday, so I'm going to just do the bare minimum, and then I want to fucking cook it, and then I want to raise for just doing my job.
I mean, I will say, inflation is insane right now, so I do understand the raise part and all of that, but at the same time, and I also think, mental health is a very serious deal. There are a lot of people that really need help with their mental health issues or whatever, but it's people take advantage of it. That's the thing. I think most people are taking advantage of it.
Yes. And when it comes to mental health, like, I'm a big proponent of working out. I'm a big proponent of getting enough sleep. A lot of, and I'm no fucking doctor, but a lot of my personal experience with feeling better is, one, being active, staying busy, eating well, working out, sleeping well. Like, that is the stuff that helps me personally, so I can talk about that. But I just feel that a lot of people just they get overwhelmed, but they also don't know how to handle situations. And I'm talking about these xenials. They just don't understand that you have to deal with things. You have to learn how to cope with things. You can't just shut it out, run away. And this isn't saying all xenials, because there's always going to be people that are going to run laps and circles around people in every generation. Like they say, the great generation, the greatest generation of World War II, like my grandfather's generation. There were people that were lazy asses back then, but there were also people that were like, I'm going to go all for it and I'm going to crush it and work my ass off. It's the same in every generation. It just feels like today is made up of a bunch of fucking pussies. Flat out, a bunch of pussies who just want to be offended by everything instead of just having a discussion. They have to be allies and be over the top when anything happens. They go straight to jump to conclusion mats instead of stepping back, having a discussion. They go straight to, you were wrong, and because you're wrong, you're canceled forever.
100%. 100%. Yep. And there's another quote, speaking of the older generation, the author likes to say, all this to say, even those most vocal Gen Zers, those who repost TikToks eulogizing about the latest workless trends, still probably work harder for less than their Gen X parents and boomer grandparents. And unlike millennials, who were at least motivated by the hope that it would all be worth it in the end, there's no such light on the horizon for Gen Z. Okay, yeah, okay. You're saying Gen Zers work harder than baby boomers and Gen X?
Not at all.
That built this nation? You're saying there's no light at the end of the tunnel? I mean, millennials are only a couple years older. If there's no light at the end of the tunnel for Gen Zers, then there's no light for millennials either.
Well, there isn't. Most of them are losers too. I think I'm a millennial technically in 1981.
You're right on the edge, though. I'm definitely considered a millennial, but I'm also more of an older millennial.
Yeah. Look, there's different people all the time. Some are going to work hard and some aren't.
Exactly.
This idea that you put a name on this shit. Say, I hate the naming schemes of everything.
I hate categorizing it all, yes.
Yeah. Bare minimum Mondays. Quiet quitting. Defund the police. Like all of these marketing terms that people came up with that are just the worst terms ever. I do not believe in bare minimum Mondays. I believe you work your fucking ass off, right? Get your work done. You can go do your yoga. You can go do all this stuff, but don't bitch that you have so much to do on the weekend that it affects your Monday and you feel like you need to take a break. You know how you can take a break? Make your own job. Make your own business. But guess what? If you're going to always take a break and you're not going to work your ass off, you're not going to be successful at it.
And hey, I do get people that have families, have, multiple kids. It's not easy to just get up and go to the gym or do stuff on your free time. They do have a lot of things to do around the house. And I'm not in any way trying to promote the whole Gary Vee lifestyle of grind, work more. No, I'm absolutely not. I'm just saying it's a give and take cycle. You need to earn it. You need to put in the work while still maintaining, a healthy home life. Of course, you can't just phone it in and expect the world. Like when I'm working, you have me during the work hours. You have all of me. Yeah. I'm dedicated to the job for those hours. When shit needs to get done, it gets done. However, the second I sign off, the dedication turns towards my family, as it should.
So to build off of that, Stephen, I understand that I don't have kids. You have one on the way, and certain things are more difficult. I just look at when you go to the coffee shop down the street that I was talking about earlier, and you go in there and you see these people working on their computers. Like, what do you do? You sit and is this your work? And they're like, I'm working from home, or I go to the dog park at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock,
10 times
three times a day.
Yeah.
I'm taking my dog to the dog park and I'm working. It's like, well, what are you actually doing? What is your job? Because it looks like you're just sitting here answering emails, and then you take a break to have coffee, and then you sit here for 2 hours, and then you go and get ready for your yoga class. It just seems like a large portion of the age demographic thinks that everything should be handed over, and that you shouldn't really have to work at much, or that you should do the bare minimum to get by.
Oh yeah.
And that's it, Stephen. That's all I got for that. So that's basically all we got for this week. Episode what are we at? 41?
41, yeah.
Yeah, episode 41. We had quite a lot to talk about. We went into some overtime here. But yeah, that you could text us your thoughts. If you're offended, please be offended. 313-710-9729. If you're one of these Xenials that likes quiet Mondays, or whatever the hell they call this, bare minimum Mondays, let me know how it's going for you. How's your dad's basement and your mom's basement? I lived at home until 29. I did.
I was 25, I think.
Yeah. I lived at home till, actually, it may have been 30. I may have been 30. I was over 30. It may have been 31 when I finally moved out.
Oh, wow.
For various reasons, as I've talked about. But, I look back and And I think about having like $400 in my bank account at the time when I lived at home to where I'm at now. And I look at people who get offended when you have some success. They're like, oh, it's always just been easy for you. You've always had, you did this. I'm like, you weren't around 14, 15 years ago when I was in my dad's house, twiddling my thumbs, not knowing how to do anything and just not knowing where to go or how to be a success, and had no money in my bank account. And yeah, I lived at home, so I had that. I had that I didn't have to pay rent, really, but
it's not like you took over the family business and it was just handed over. Like you literally built this from the ground up, from scratch, by yourself.
Yes, from zero to where I'm at now. And it just, I get a little pissed off when people start to judge you and look at you like you had it super easy. That's why you never know people's situations. You never know who's a trust fund kid, and you never know who's made it from zero. But again, you can't get upset that someone's a trust fund kid because that's all they've ever known.
And you can't assume.
Right, and you can't always assume, but it's always interesting. You're like, how the hell did they do this? Best way to do is actually just ask and have a discussion. I'm the type of person that just asks straight up, blunt, forward questions.
Well,
speaking of, we have this girl at bowling. She has almost a shaved head, like super. She had beautiful long hair 2 weeks ago before she went to Disney. I think Disney did something to her. So she came in, she's in, and we're at the end of bowling, and I'm like, I'm just gonna, what happened to your hair? It didn't look like she had cancer type of thing. It was like, what happened to your hair? She's like, what do you mean it was my hair? I'm like, she's like, it wasn't real. I was like, oh, so it wasn't yours. She's like, it was mine. I bought it, And I was like, oh, so it was just beautiful long extensions, really beautiful long
like a
hair.
wig.
No, extensions, I guess.
Well, you said she's pretty much bald now.
She has the little nubs.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that even means. It's a different type of hair. She's African American, so her hair's a little different, where you can look better bald than a white person.
Yeah.
I mean, black women look a hell of a lot better bald than white women look bald.
That's very true.
The ones that choose to be bald. I'm not talking about anything other than that. That's, in my opinion, black women can pull off shorter haircuts, buzzed cuts, more so than a white woman.
Well, it's like in, what is it, Black Panther, for example. Most of them have shaved heads, and they look great.
Never saw it.
Oh, you should. It's great.
Just couldn't do Black Panther. I just couldn't do it.
Really?
I just don't like comic, but I don't watch Marvel.
You don't like
I
the
don't watch any of that
superhero stuff, yeah.
I just don't like superhero stuff. Okay, Steven, let's get out of here.
All right, let's wrap it up. As usual, if you guys can rate us on Spotify, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, also rate us on there, that would be great. Always helps out.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Steven, good luck with your week or whatever. I don't know why I'm saying that. Don't go quiet quitting on Monday for me.
Yeah.
Don't pull a Dan on us. I'm just kidding. He doesn't listen. Hashtag he doesn't listen. Hashtag Dan doesn't listen. Let's see if he listens. If he listens, send me a text that says hashtag I listen. That's it. Nothing else. I want to hear that. That's all I want to see. Yeah, Dan. Not you people. Dan. All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Jared Polin, FronosPhoto.com. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.